Don't you just hate it when your corpse won't shut up? Hello and welcome to RotD Review of the Day, and today I'm taking a look at the 2016 movie, The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Now, I had seen this movie a few years ago, and I really liked it back then. When I was wondering what movie to review next for the RotD channel here, it popped up on my queue as a possibility, and I thought, well, why not? I really liked it. I think it would make a good entry. But too much time had passed. I don't like to let more than a few days pass between the time that I watch a movie and I do a review of it, just so that it's fresh in my heart. And I have all the details in my brain. So, watched it again last night, and I'm really glad I did. It held true to my first watch. I really did enjoy it as much the second time. And to get into that, let's get into the categories. As always, 5 different categories, each one worth up to 20 points for a total possible score of 100 points. And the first category is plot. And the plot was okay. To be perfectly honest, the plot on its surface level was only all right to me. I gave it a 12 out of 20. What was there was, it's not that it could have been better. It's just that it's not the most engaging premise in the world. Basically, a father-son duo at a mortuary. They perform autopsies and try to find the cause of death. Are presented with a unidentified female corpse, and that is their task for the evening. They need to find the cause of her death. It was, the corpse was acquired under mysterious circumstances, and the sheriff needs an answer for the press ASAP. So this is what they're working on until morning. And as they go through the autopsy, as they dig further into the corpse, they uncover more of the mystery and try to solve it and put the pieces together to find cause of death and generally what is going on, because as they go further into it, the more mysterious things are happening around them and to the environment. So overall, I thought it was good. It was a good concept. It just wasn't stupendous. I mean, I thought it was okay. That's not to say that this was only an okay movie. I thought it was a great movie. Just the plot, I thought, was kind of meh. And this is kind of where the plot and intent can differentiate. A lot of times it aligns itself just with, especially with normal scary movies, but sometimes they can deviate from one another, and that's why I have them as 2 separate categories. You'll see that happen a lot when we get away from just normal scary movies and we get into the campy, schlocky, fun ones. Because the plot of those are just going to be dogs, but the intent of being campy fun, I'm going to give it points where it deserves it. So, plot of this one, 12 out of 20, but the intent I gave 17 out of 20, and here's why. The intent of this was to be a interesting, character-driven, scary movie, and through a combination of direction, editing, well-written dialogue, and I think incredible performances by the main actors of Brian Cox and Emile Hirsch, I thought the entire thing came together wonderfully. The scares worked. The characters worked. Everything about this worked. So even though the plot was kind of so-so, they elevated it to the point of greatness. And that's why I gave it 17 out of 20. I really do recommend this. The acting, I was, just touched on a little bit, but the father-son duo, Brian Cox and Emile Hirsch, I thought was wonderful. You felt the connection between them as father and son. The love and the loss and the tragedy and the hope and the regret, it's all there between the both of them for themselves and for each other. And I really loved it. That comes a lot down to the dialogue that was written as well, but Brian Cox, I just love him as an actor. I think I always thought he was fun because, Super Troopers, things like that. But I think that he really elevated himself as an actor for me personally when I watched his performance in LIE, which was terribly disturbing, but very compelling at the same time. So I'm a fan. I really do love Brian Cox, and I thought that he was in prime shape on this one. And also, I would be reticent to not give some pretty strong thumbs up to Olwen Catherine Kelly, who played Jane Doe. That couldn't have been an easy job. I'm trying to imagine behind the scenes of shooting the film and, working 12-hour days for a few months straight. And basically her job is to get into makeup and then get on a metal slab. And that couldn't have been easy. And I thought she did a pretty stellar performance as a corpse. So, I really couldn't do this review without giving her some props on that one. The technical aspect of it, I really, really enjoyed, and I kind of touched on that with the editing and the direction there. And I'm going to go a lot more into this in the deep dive discussion. It's just going to be a little too detailed and probably a little bit spoilery for this safe review. But suffice it to say, one of the aspects that I really liked about this is it knew the timing of the jump scares and how to make them work. That is something that on a technical level can be really tricky. But more than that, it knew how to build up tension, and it wasn't artificial. It wasn't, the camera coming in from low with a long, drawn-out, singular, creepy sound, and then ultimately, blah, it's nothing. It was fantastic the way that they build up tension in this. It had a lot to do with the characters contrasting with each other. If one was focused on this thing here and the other was focused on this thing over here, they could be talking to each other, and only, this person will say something and this person will kind of hear that only about like 10%, but their focus is on this over here, and they're just kind of, should we be going? Should this be happening? What's going on over here? What's this piece of evidence? But this person is laser line focused here, so they're only hearing 10% of what this person's saying. And so there's a disjointed nature to it that I think works really, really well. And the way that the editing complements that, I think worked really, really well. So, as the sound ramps up, as the editing pace quickens, and as the characters are more and more disjointed but still kind of connected with one another, I think that is a really, really good job of that tension buildup until it finally, it's like a pressure cooker that finally just pops. And I thought that worked extraordinarily well. So high marks on the technical, 17 out of 20 for that. Super impressed. And the fear quotient, you might gather, I thought worked really well too. This movie actually was scary. If you are looking for something that will bring the chills, this is a good one. I gave a 15 out of 24, and I really have no regrets on this one. The jump scares worked. The dread worked. The suspense worked. The tension worked. Everything about it worked. And ultimately, this was a scary horror film. So that brings us to a total of 78 out of 100 points. Overall, this movie I would very strongly recommend. It's a compelling movie. It's good characters. It's fine dialogue. It can break your heart. It can draw you in, and it can scare the pants off of you. So high marks all around. I really did like this one. So that should about do it for this. If you've seen the movie, if you're going to watch the movie, I invite you to come back, watch the deep dive discussion video. Other than that, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.